Welcome to the Your Life Choices podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic day and thank you so much for joining us. I love words and that's my whole world because that's how I make my money. And Macquarie Dictionary, Australia's own dictionary, every year come out with the words of the year. And we've got Victoria Morgan, the Macquarie Dictionary Senior Editor, on the line to tell us the People's Choice Award and many others when it comes to the words of the year for 2020. Victoria, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, John. How are you?
Oh, look, I'm in trouble and I need you to help me. Are you good with relationship counselling?
Not my forte.
Well,
I'll give it a go.
See if you can help me with this. My partner, who I adore and love dearly, she comes from South Australia and I am in Victoria. You are in New South Wales. When she came to Melbourne at the start of 2020, she would call Malvern. I'd say, sorry? I'm going to Malvern. No, you're going to Malvern. Now, it's spelt M-A-L. Who is right and who is wrong? And my relationship may decide on your next answer.
I would have to look to see where the corresponding Malvern or Malverns come from. So if they're named after people or places, then it should take on that pronunciation that the person or place prior to this already had. So that if they're two separate people or places, both of you could be right or one of you could be wrong.
You could be a psychologist. Beautifully played. Talk about a straight bat for Victoria Morgan.
Don't worry. When I moved down there, I thought Fran was Fran.
So I guess when I go to South Australia, I will call Malvern Malvern. While you're in Victoria, you may call it Malvern. So are there many of those words that around Australia do change depending where you are?
There definitely are. And even there's places that do just have the one name, but there's often two pronunciations that people are at war over. So I think the one that comes to mind is it Launceston or Launceston?
And of course, if you go there, it must be Launceston.
I can't remember.
It's Launceston, because I remember a radio station down there said, I'm going to Launceston. Said, no, you're not. You're going to Launceston, not Launceston. Yeah. I guess it is, whatever the locals call it, that's good enough for me, I guess.
That's what we do. We ring round the post office or the local council and just ask them silly questions to try and get them to say the word without prompting them.
Now, I did 25 years of hosting Lotto, etc., and every time someone would say, oh, Deeksy, can you get my numbers out? Every time someone would try and convince me to get their Tats Lotto numbers out or their Lotto numbers out, that was my cross to bear. When somebody finds out Victoria Morgan is the Macquarie Dictionary Senior Editor, what's the first thing they say at a party or a dinner party?
Oh, what's the newest word that's gone in? and then you tell them and they'll say, oh, that's stupid. I've never heard of that before.
Oh, so in other words, then you say, well, why did you ask me? Or why don't you get yourself a Macquarie Dictionary and you'll find out.
Exactly. And that's why we love this time of year, the word of the year, because it's, aside from the public being able to email in word suggestions or things that we may not have already covered, this is the one chance for the public to have a look at some of the new terms that have come in and make a vote for themselves.
Well, let's look at that right now. And there's some other questions I'd like to ask about Macquarie Dictionary, how long it's been going and its relevance in 2021 and beyond. And clearly it is, because you do talk to the folks. And you've got a fabulous panel, an illustrious panel of committee, the 2020 Word of the Year Committee, including Tiger Webb from the ABC, who's an absolute fantastic research scientist. So let's get to it's been the big year of COVID. The COVID word for 2020, and this was judged by the committee itself?
Yes. So because COVID and COVID language just sort of took over 2020,
sure,
we thought that if we sort of included this in our normal word of the year, it would just overrun everything. So there was enough new terms to warrant its own competition and word of the year.
So drum roll, please. And the Macquarie Dictionary COVID word of the year for 2020 is
Rona.
Rona. Okay, so you've sort of shortened the word coronavirus to Rona.
Rona came up very, very early in the year, probably even February. And Australians, we love to shorten things. We love to make things colloquial. And it is a particularly Australian term. And instead of saying COVID-19, coronavirus, or SARS-CoV-2, it became used as Rona or the Rona in spoken language or sort of on social media, but definitely not in print media.
Any runners-up to that, Victoria?
We did. We also have an honourable mention for COVID normal.
Mm-hmm.
We kept on hearing about the new normal, and then each week there was a new normal. And now we've reached a stage where it's COVID normal, where it's a way of life where we have to get used to this way of life in the community where COVID is around and does exist. And so we have to social distance. We have to wear masks to a certain point until the time a vaccine is developed and distributed. So until that time, we're living COVID normal.
Now, the word of the year for 2020, as deemed by your illustrious panel of experts, your committee, what was let's get the drum roll here. Ta-da! And the word of the year from Macquarie Dictionary for 2020 was...
Doom scrolling.
Doom scrolling. And now that would, I guess, be looking at too much news, and there's been a lot of that, hasn't there?
It is. We've sort of found that it's very, very hard to take your attention away from the news, and particularly when you're sort of scrolling through on a device and it's just constant. But in this case, it's where the news is predominantly negative or upsetting, and unfortunately 2020, that's pretty much been all the news we've had. We started with the bushfires, rolled into COVID. We had some elections thrown in to boot, and it was very, very hard to find any news apart from that. And it did take a lot of our attention. So doom scrolling itself was a brand new word for 2020. We hadn't seen it anywhere before then. So a lot of people would not be familiar with it.
I would say to a lot of my friends, I only probably watch one news service every couple of days, and I might keep up to date with the radio news, because you can really send yourself into a downward spiral.
Yes, and I do know a lot of people that they had to take a break. They had to force themselves to say, this is getting a bit out of control.
Yeah.
And I think doom scrolling is something that most of us found ourselves doing, but until now there wasn't really a descriptive word for it. So this is why this has come up.
How long have you been the senior editor there, Victoria?
I can't remember.
Oh, my gosh. That long?
No.
That long?
No. I've been with the dictionary for about 15 or 16 years.
How did you come to it?
I just loved language. I absolutely love language. I did linguistics at university, and Macquarie was based where I was studying. And I thought, this could be so interesting. How on earth can I, find my way in here? I might hate it. I might love it. And I eventually got a foot in the door as the publisher's assistant. And you learn something new every day. It is fascinating. It is a lot more exciting in the dictionary world than most people would think.
How does Macquarie differentiate itself from the others?
Well, until Macquarie came along, we were relying on the British or American dictionaries. So along with them came their pronunciation. They weren't aware of any of our regionalisms or our slang, or, in Australia, as a basic example, all the native wildlife, the flora and fauna we have are often particular to Australia, so they wouldn't necessarily appear in other dictionaries. So that there really was a need to cover Australian language with its pronunciations, with its usage, and whether you're from Melbourne or South Australia and you have Fritz or Devon or Strasbourg or...
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our listeners are of an age where they might despair at how the language in Australia has, in their opinion, deteriorated or has been cheapened or lessened as the years have gone on, certainly when it comes to social media and the kids texting, all the rest of it. How, over your time at Macquarie Dictionary, has it all changed? Has it evolved? And where do you see it going?
I guess the big thing we're seeing is language is being adopted quicker. It's changing quicker. And even just with general TV, we're watching things from the US and the UK. So language is being spread at a much faster rate than it ever was before. But also other countries are picking up Australian terms, but not nearly to the extent that we're taking in and adopting others.
Where can people know more about the Macquarie Dictionary Words of the Year and, in fact, any other information from Macquarie Dictionary, please, Victoria?
The dictionary has a website. It's just macquariedictionary.com.au. And on there you can learn a bit about the history of Macquarie. You can look at this year's Word of the Years. You can also look at previous winners and lists. It's an interesting site. We also have blogs and we have podcasts as well, if anyone's interested. There is a lot there to access. And it is interesting having a look at some of the previous words of the year and to see what language has stuck. There's a few things where technology has completely surpassed, what was new at that time now, so is obsolete already.
Right. Well, there's only one more award. I feel like I'm emceeing an award show here, but there's only one more award to announce, everybody, and that is the Macquarie Dictionary People's Choice Word of the Year 2020. Drum roll, please. And the word, as chosen by the people for 2020, according to the Macquarie Dictionary, is...
Karen.
Poor Karen, which started here in Melbourne, in Brighton, of course. Poor Karen from Brighton. Explain.
Oh, we did, and we had Bunnings Karen.
Yes,
Brighton Karen.
We did. You've described Karen as being a term used predominantly to refer to a middle-class white woman, often of Generation X, who is regarded as having an entitled, condescending and often racist attitude. Karen being the common name of this generation. Again, we apologise, Karens. Please don't write to us. Please don't pick on Macquarie Dictionary. They is just telling you what the people are saying, correct?
And the people chose it. So it's definitely forefront in people's minds.
And a lot of Karens also voted for that as well. Oh,
they
dear.
did.
Okay.
So the only complaints we had was for the People's Choice COVID Word of the Year. We thought we would have a lot more Karens to respond to. But the People's Choice for the COVID Word of the Year was COVIDiot.
COVIDiot, yes.
COVIDiot, which is also another lovely, it's a colloquial term that has taken people.
It's just extraordinary how this has affected every corner of our society and our lexicon as well. And Macquarie Dictionary have certainly come to the fore. Again, the website for folks to go to if they wish to know more, Victoria?
Is macquariedictionary.com.au.
Victoria Morgan, the long-serving member of the Macquarie Dictionary family and now the senior editor. Victoria Morgan, thank you so much for giving up your time and can't wait to find out what shapes up for 2021.
It has to be better.
Oh, please make it better. Thanks very much, Victoria.
Thanks, John.